Hello, welcome to Board Game Opinions. My name is Jonathan Hicks, and this is another Hanabi commentary. We are playing on Board Game Arena. I recommend you watch the previous video in this series if you've not seen it before, where I introduced the Dynamo system, which is the system we use for cluing. And one of the things that comes up is because in our system, when you give a clue, it means you play all the cards that you've been clued on. There's potentially an issue when you need to tell someone to stop cluing. Maybe all the cards that have been clued aren't playable. And there are various ways in which you can do that. And the previous video, the situation just never really arose. So there isn't, I don't think there's any examples where we were stopping somebody from cluing. But this example I've got in front of us here is another match we were playing as me and a couple of friends, where there were several examples where we had to stop somebody from playing. So I'm going to illustrate through commenting on this one how you do that in practice with the Dynamo system. Apologies, I pulled this off Matt's stream and a couple of the areas got clipped off by various graphics and things. It shouldn't really affect gameplay, so yeah, but just bear in mind that's why the corners of the discard pile, for example, are missing. Alright, let's have a go, see if I can play this. Alright, so Steve's go first and he's clued ones. And remember that when we play ones, you play them right to left, not left to right like all the other cards. So I, at the bottom here, should be playing the blue one first. There we go. Now Matt's go. We are seeing it from Matt's perspective here at the top. So we can't see Matt's cards, but we'll be able to see the other cards. Because I've been clued ones, we'll just carry on playing ones. Matt can see my two ones. So he clues Steve on this red one. He doesn't clue ones because Steve has a blue one which has already been played, and he has a white one which I've got. So he just clues red. So Steve should be playing that red one. And then I should carry on playing through all my ones. So I will play my green one next. Now I obviously don't realise this, but I've got a green 2. In fact, I've got 2 of them here. Now Matt does not want to clue me because he wants me to carry on playing. So ideally at this point he would clue Steve if Steve had anything playable, which he doesn't. Now you might think he could discard, although in our system we don't like to discard before a non-play clue has been given. So effectively, Matt's clue, let me just pause this. Matt's clue of 5 on Steve is telling all of us he can't see any more playable cards. So we don't need to worry about Matt potentially discarding something dangerous like a 5 off the chop until he's given a clue like that. So that's part of our system. He clues 5 to let us know nothing else I can clue that's playable. So from that point of view, he, on his next turn, he will discard that last card. So if it's a dangerous one, we would have to warn him at that point. But yeah, it gets to Steve's turn, and Steve clues Matt on 2 of his 2s. So Steve can obviously see the green 2s in my hand, so presumably these are going to be different colours. These now will get played left to right there. So I play my remaining 1. Matt will play his newest 2. And then when it gets back to him, he will play the next 2. Whatever colour that is, he's going to play that again. Unless we stop him. So it's Steve's go. Now I do have the green 2, which might be a different colour from Matt's. In some senses though, he might be better to wait and just let me discard the 1 green 2 off the end. Oh, okay, that is a finesse. So he's ignored my 2s because he wants me really to discard this green 2 on the end, so that when he clues me 2s, he's not having to tell me to stop later. So you just wait for them to discard the 1 on the end, then you clue 2, and that will be the only green, or the only 2 hopefully in the hand. And so I'll be able to play it without any trouble. Now he's clued me on blue. Just appreciate this blue 3 is not playable. Yeah, the blue 1 is the current card out there. So that means the blue 2 must be there. Now, although we can't see it, like Matt can't see it, because I've been clued blue, I should not be playing that card because it must be in Matt's most recent spot, probably. Let's just see how this plays out. Obviously, I can see Matt's hand, and I've clued 3 on Steve. Now that's a straight play clue. Yeah, you can see the white 3 can be played, but I've not played the blue card. So I'm telling Matt, you've not played this. Now it might be because, yeah, okay, so that one was already a blue one. So that wasn't actually a finesse as such because it was just like a delayed clue. It was blue, but I didn't want to play because I could see Matt had the blue 2 in his hand, so I just wait and then I played that one. There's no way Steve would clue me blue if it was the blue 2, if Matt also had the blue 2. That would be insane. So I wait for Matt to play the blue 2, and then I can play my blue 3. You can see why Steve didn't clue 3s, because the red 3 is not playable, and if he clued me on 3s, I would be playing the red 3 first. So it comes back to Steve. I clued him on the white 3, so he plays it. Now I know I can play my blue 3, so I should be playing that. Steve's hand is pretty uninspiring. The 2 1s are useless. The 4s, not particularly helpful for anything, and the 3 is a duplicate, so we don't need that either. So I've played the blue 3. I've drawn a useless green 1. Matt's go. What is he going to do? So at this point, oh, I've got my green 2s, of course. Again, as I was saying, you're probably better waiting for me to discard that. We'll see what he does. He may just discard at this point if he can't see anything better to do. Yep, I think he is discarding. He's selected his chop card, the one on the end, and there it goes. That's not an issue. Steve's, well, unless Matt has drawn something, Steve will discard the white 1 on the end. He's obviously thinking about it. One issue with my green 2 is whether or not the green 3 is out there. If the green 3 is in Matt's hand, Steve may want to clue me on the green 2 earlier to get me to play it. Okay, he's clued Matt on 2 1s, so we play the most recent one now. Yeah, so ones in the starting hand are played right to left, but if you've drawn new ones, you play them left to right like every other card. So Matt should be playing the one on the left. What am I going to do though? Well, I don't really want to be cluing Matt, so I've discarded. That's fine. That was the duplicate 2. Now 2 is a very safe clue for me. Matt plays the yellow one. Steve clues my 2 now, which allows me to play that without having to stop me playing later. There are some clues later where we stop people from playing, I seem to remember. Hopefully we'll get to those. But for now it's straightforward. I should just be playing the 2. But for some reason I've decided not to play the 2. I've clued blue on Matt. Okay, well that does a couple of things. I should perhaps just warn you. The only other one that we need is the multicolour one. By cluing blue, Matt now knows that that other one is not a multicolour one, because it would have shown up as blue. Remember, when you clue blue, or any colour, all the multicolour cards show up as well. So in this case, we actually had to stop Matt from playing that other one. Yeah, Steve clued 1s because he wanted the first one to be played. He didn't want the second one to play. So one way you can stop somebody playing is you give them a different clue. So by cluing blue here, I am, just because it's a different clue, I'm telling him not to play the one. But doubly, he knows he can't play that one because it can't be a multicolour one, so that's helpful. But this must also be a play clue. Okay, that has to be the blue 4 in this case. Yeah, because that's the next blue card that we would expect. I would not have given that clue unless it were playable. So my 2 will have to get played later. There's the blue 4. Steve now is probably looking at Matt's hand because my hand has nothing to do there. He's discarded. So Matt obviously is not getting anything worth playing. I should be playing my green 2 now. I delayed it around, but now I should get on with it. Matt knows he has a safe discard. He can discard that one. It can't be the multicolour one. It's worth keeping an eye on 5s. Steve's got 2 5s in his hand. If it's a clued one, he'll just save it. The other one, though, if it gets close to the chop, we might need to clue that just to save it if it doesn't become playable before that point. Matt is having a think. I've drawn the white 4, so he could just clue that one and I would play it. The difficulty is if he clues 4s, you see I've got 2 4s in my hand. Yeah, the first and the last one. I would try playing both of them, and if he clues white, then I would try playing both of these white cards, and he doesn't really want either of those things. If we lose the green 4, it's not the end of the world. So they may let me discard and then clue the 4. So that's one way you can get over the issue of, well, if you clue multiple cards and they're all expected to be played, what happens if they're not all playable? Well, you can just wait for them to discard. Okay, so that is one option. It's not ideal in this case because we would like to keep the green 4, really. I mean, it doesn't matter if we lose it in one sense, but if the green 4 is the bottom card on the deck, then we can't win. So that would be bad. What is Steve going to do? Okay, so yeah, he is elected to effectively save my green 4 by cluing white. So he clues that, meaning I should play the first one. I'll play the white 4. My other white card is going to have to get me to stop playing that. That was a difficult situation. Oh, but look, that's perfect. So the multicolour ones come out. So the easy way to stop me playing there is just to clue 1s on my hand. Yep, you're telling me to play the most recent one. You're also telling me my other one is white. So, well, I know it's a 1, so I won't play it, and it's a safe discard. It would also clue my green 1, so I'd have 2 safe discards and the playable multicolour 1. So that would be perfect. Right, Matt's discarded. Couldn't see anything else better to do. It's worth keeping an eye on the discards. It's a red 4. We can't lose another one of those. But none of us has that in our hands at the moment. Steve's turn, so he should definitely be cluing me 1s. I think that is definitely the best clue here. He could obviously clue something like yellow, and I would just play that one because I haven't got any other yellow cards. But cluing me on the 1s tells me about safe discards. So that's very helpful. There we go. So I'm like, yeah. So I play my most recent one, and those other 2 1s effectively become my chop cards. They're the ones I'll be discarding next. That also means that the green 4 on the end in my hand is safe for a few rounds. I'm not going to discard that for a while because I'll be discarding my 1s first. Now I'm thinking, why am I thinking? Well, Matt obviously has something interesting in his hand because Steve's hand is not very interesting. Yep. It might be that Matt has the yellow 4 in his hand and I'm concerned about us losing both of them, the kind of double discard avoidance situation. Oh, look, that is a lot of yellow cards. Chances are some of those are multicolour. Remember, with the multicolour suits, it will show up if you clue a colour, like yellow. And I've not played my card. That's obviously because I want Matt to do something because of his hand. Now, he should just be playing the most recent yellow card in that situation. So it could be, in fact, I know that my one is the multicolour one because it's the only one left and it was clued. So that next yellow card really should be the yellow 2. Oh, it's not. Now that's interesting. I knew I had the multicolour one, but I clued him anyway, and that's probably because he has a set of cards in his hand that will clue nicely together. So in fact, I'm just going to, yeah, I'll see how long we take to make this decision. I'm going to pause it in a second. I could have played the multicolour one, but then Matt would have discarded the yellow card on the end, this one here, and for some reason I obviously wanted to keep that card. And this clue of yellow is probably going to get a number of cards all played at once. Again, that's one of the advantages of the Dynamo system. There we go, I've just discarded. And notice I discarded the one furthest to the right. Technically, because I know all those ones are safe discards, you should discard from the right. It's possible to warn people of dangerous situations by what's called underchopping, where you discard the card before your chop card, which would have been the white one in this case. Which is safe to do no matter how many ones, but you should still pay attention to which card is being discarded, because if somebody underchops, it's a red flag warning. So yes, I've elected to clue Matt so that Matt can play through all these cards and it gives me safe discards. So let's play this again. And Steve drew the blue 2 after discarding, so that's no good for anything. So Matt should just carry on playing. Again, it could be the yellow 2 or the multicolour 2. There we go, it's the multicolour 2. So Matt obviously had the multicolour 1 and 2 in his most recent spot, so that's a nice play through order. And I've included green. Oh yes, that's because, so Steve's including green, because I can play my green 3, the most recent one, and then I will carry on and play the green 4 afterwards. I won't obviously play the 1s, because they can't be played. So that should be straightforward. It's a question of whether or not Matt has a dangerous card. Like, he should play that yellow card next. Yeah, the one, not the last one, but the one before that. He should be playing that. If I play my green, he will play that card. So the question is whether or not it can be played. Because I'm obviously thinking about this, chances are it can't be played. There we go, I've clued 4s. So because I've given him a clue, I'm telling him not to carry on playing. I'm telling him to play the new thing that's being clued, if you like. However, if you look at his hand, he's going to look through all the cards now. That's telling him not to play this card. This yellow 4, if it's a multicolour 4 or a yellow 4, can't be played. all the other cards are 4, and in fact there are no 4s that can be played. So my clue is effectively telling Matt to stop and not play anything else. So that's the other option. You can clue someone to play something else and they'll stop playing the previous set of cards they were playing, or you can give someone a clue which makes it clear they can't play any of those cards, in which case they just stop. So Matt will do something else, and if there's nothing he can see that can be clued, he will discard. And the only card he can discard that is actually his newest card. Now that might seem a bit dangerous, but obviously I've looked at that before giving the clue. Let me just pause this here because it's going quite quickly. I factored into account what that card is. I knew Matt was going to discard it, so Matt doesn't need to worry about it. He knows it's a safe discard because I wouldn't have given that clue if it wasn't a safe discard. Steve just threw away a 1 there, I think, so that's fine. It comes to me, and now I can play my green 3. Matt will again discard his most recent card, so again I will have factored that into account. I wouldn't have just played the green 3 if Matt did not have a safe discard there. Although actually Steve, look, has drawn the multicolour 3. So I actually may have left Matt with a discard that was dangerous, like that could be a 5, because I know Matt is going to give a clue. Yeah, the multicolour 3 has popped up, so he really should be cluing that if there's nothing better to do. And is he going to do it? You can see he's hovering over it. He's clued red. Okay, now, yes, I don't know what I think about that clue. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, there are issues here. So first of all, he doesn't want to clue 3, okay, because if he clues 3, he's telling him to play this one, and then in theory, when it comes back to Steve, he should be playing the white 3, which is clearly not playable. There are no other 3s that can be played, so that might be okay, but even if he does that, Steve will then hang on to this 3 because he won't be sure which 3 it is. Maybe it's the red 3 or the yellow 3 and he wants to keep it, he doesn't know. And we're getting him to hang on to a card that's just a waste of time. We don't really want him to hang on to that one. Matt has opted to clue red because, I mean, he's going to have to clue both of these multicolour cards if he clues colour. So if he doesn't go for 3, he's got to clue both the multicolour cards. He's picked red because that's also the 5 on the end. Now at this point, Steve doesn't know, is that the multicolour 5 or the red 5? You've got to be very careful about colour clues in the multicolour suits because it could be multicolour, it could be red, you don't necessarily know. Steve will definitely play this. I could probably just play this at this point. So Steve will play the multicolour 3, and then we're going to have to warn Steve not to play this 5, the multicolour 5, yeah, because that is not playable yet. So we'll see what happens. Steve plays the 3. I should be playing my 4. Remember I'd been clued green? So I'm just going to carry on and play. There we go. There's the green 4. And it's back to Matt. Now Matt needs to stop Steve from playing that 5. So I think he's just going to clue 5. Now if he does that, Steve looks at his hand and goes, I've got 2 red 5s. So he knows one of them's the multicolour one and one of them's the red one, yeah, because there's only one of each. And neither of those are playable, so effectively Matt is telling him to stop playing. And that's also handy because we obviously are going to need to play those cards later, so Steve will keep those in hand. So that's why Matt elected to give the red clue there. We had to stop him one way or another anyway, and keeping a card that's actually useful is better. I've discarded one of my 1s. What have I drawn? I've drawn the green 5, that's good, that's playable. None of Steve's other cards are playable, so that's no good. We really need the red 2 and the yellow 2. Yeah, you want the low cards to come first. Matt just discards. He didn't clue me on my 5 because Steve can do it. It's not really a high priority now anyway, although I imagine Steve will. Oh, I've got the red 3, of course. Yeah, so, sorry, no, the reason Matt's discarded is because if Matt draws the red 2, like if he had the red 2, we would have clued it earlier. So he must have not had the red 2 in that newest slot. So he's discarding because it's unlikely, but if he does draw the red 2, I mean, there's 16 cards left here, so there's some chance that he could draw the red 2. It allows Steve to finesse the 3, potentially, although that's quite awkward because of the rest of my hand. But that's kind of why. Generally, you want to leave the clue giving to the person before the person who's got the card to set up potential finesses. Anyway, we'll see what Steve does. Yeah, he just clues the green card, the 5 on my most recent spot. So that's just a straight play clue. I will play that, which gets us a clue back. That's good. You notice at this point, we've never run out of clues. Yeah, I don't think we've had clues all the way through. And that tends to be the way. It's rare that you run out of clues with the Dynamo system because it's just so clue efficient. You get so many cards played for each clue. So Matt, I think, will discard. He's got nothing better to do. He's keeping all those 4s in his yellow or possibly multicolour cards. Steve's drawn the green 4 is no good. So he's drawn a blue card. Steve's just clued Matt on a blue card. That's bound to be, ooh, I say that. It could be the multicolour 4. I've just discarded. Let's see what he plays, because it could be the blue 5 or the multicolour 4. It is the blue 5. Notice, though, that when Steve gave this blue clue, the other thing he's doing is he's telling Matt that these 2 yellow cards on the end are definitely yellow. They're not multicolour. So he knows this is the yellow 4 for definite now, which is quite helpful. Because if they were blue, they would have shown up like yellow and blue. They'd become multicolour at that point. That could be the one that's highlighted as a blue 4 could be a... Oh, hang on. Right, now, yeah, let me just pause this. It's hard to see this because of the way the cluing works. You can just about see, I don't know if you can read that at the side. So on Steve's turn, he actually clued Matt's yellow cards. Now, it didn't show up on here because they're already clued yellow. You might think, well, why in the world would you do that? Effectively, it's a finesse. I had just drawn the yellow 2, and you can see I've just played the yellow 2. So cluing that told me to play my most recent card. He was finessing my yellow 2. Which means this yellow card here is almost certainly going to be the yellow 3, which is great because Matt then knows this is the yellow 4. So he's definite about those colours. And that's also telling Matt not to play the blue 4, because that could have been the multicolour 4. But by giving a different clue, he's saying, don't do that previous thing, do this new thing instead. So yeah, Matt plays that one, which should be the yellow 3. And then Matt can play the yellow 4 when it comes back to him. Steve discards. We've got the red 2 finally. Now I don't realise it, but I'm holding both the 3s, so there's no finesse available here. So I will probably just clue Steve on his 2. And then Matt will play the yellow 4. Matt's probably trying to work out if any of those other 4s in his hand are actually useful. Yeah, there we go. So I've clued the red 2. The other 4 in Matt's hand we can't see the colour of. Could be a red one. So Matt doesn't want to throw that away just yet. It's definitely not the multicoloured one though. And Matt has clued me on my 3s. So that's fine, because even though in theory I should be playing all those 3s, only one 3 is actually playable. You can see on the cards on the left. The red 3 is playable, none of the other 3s are playable, so he doesn't need to worry about me playing all those 3s. I'll play the first one, and then I'll stop after that. I'm not just playing it, though, because I'm obviously having a little think. No, it might be because Steve has drawn the white 5. That does need playing. It might also be because of what Matt has drawn, but I've just played. That's fine. So Matt, I think... Okay, Matt has clued the white 5. I don't know why he's not playing his yellow 4. Ah, no, I do know why. So let me just pause that. Including white, that also highlights that the multicolour card is a multicolour 5. Yeah, so it was already a 5 and it was red, remember? He had 2 red 5s in his hand, supposedly. But cluing white on this one also tells Steve that that is a multicolour 5. So I'm not sure why I think Matt is probably ready to play that red 4. Sorry, yellow 4. All right, so I've clued the red 4. We wondered if that was a red 4, and it is. And he should play that now because Steve knows that the 5 on the end is definitely red, yeah, because he's been, the white clue earlier told him the difference between his red 5 and his multicolour 5. That's great. Matt plays the red 4. Steve knows he can play the red 5, which he does. I've got nothing to play. Matt is still getting ready to play that yellow 4, so he does know and I've clued 4 on Steve. So that tells Steve to play his most recent card, which is the multicolour 4. Matt plays the yellow 4. Steve plays the multicolour 4. So we only need the multicolour 5, which Steve has, and the yellow 5. So wherever the yellow 5 is, there it is. It's in Matt's hand, and that's it. The game is over, because we only need those 2 5s left. Yep. So Matt plays the 5. Steve plays the multicolour 5. And we win. 30 points. All right, so hopefully that gives you an overview of how you can stop somebody from just recklessly playing through all their cards in the Dynamo system when you've clued. Because sometimes, like, there was an example, I think, in that game where there was a possibility of cluing 2 3s or cluing white cards, I think it was. And in both those situations, it doesn't matter what you clue, you're going to have to tell them to stop afterwards. So you can either tell them to stop by giving them a different play clue that says stop playing the previous thing, i.e. because it's not playable, and play the new thing. Or you can give them a clue which says you like telling them something that can't be played. So if you clue them on a 5 and no 5s are playable, that's usually the easiest way. You're saying stop playing and just save this one for later. You don't need to do that. So that hopefully, as I say, gives you a few examples of how to handle stopping people playing in the Dynamo system. All right, thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next time.